Hello and welcome to week 13 of PUBH 610. Today we will discuss marketing public health. The learning objectives for this week are to understand the key principles of marketing, to be able to discuss how the principles of marketing can apply to public health, and to appreciate the implications of social marketing. Last week, we began briefly to discuss the importance of disseminating your findings from a community health assessment with your community. This week, we're going to go beyond community health assessments, and we're going to talk about how public health agencies need to promote all of their activities through marketing. Think about it this way. Even though in public health we're not selling products, we are often trying to sell people on adopting new healthy behaviors or quitting ones that are harmful or risky. So there's a lot we can learn from marketing. The key principles of marketing are knowing one's consumers, creating products or services that they want or need, finding ways to get the products or services to consumers, and making a commitment to continue to change and adapt the products or services to meet consumers' ever-changing needs, desires, and preferences. In the next couple of slides, we'll walk through each of those principles. First, we need to know the consumer. Successful marketing strategies focus on consumers from the beginning to end. And in order to do that, you need to know a lot about them. Who they are, what they like, etc. Marketing companies use surveys and research to find out exactly who the consumers are and how much of a good or service individuals or organizations will consume or use within a potential market. To be considered a market, individuals must want or need a product or service and be willing to acquire it. In public health, we often do research and conduct surveys to find out more about the community we're working in, but we fail to consider whether they need or want a service and if they're willing to acquire it. We tend to assume that if they need it, they'll acquire it, and that is not always the case. Local public health agencies have the responsibility to serve all members of the community. But the problem is that everyone doesn't want or need the same things. And the demand for services is always changing. Because funding is limited, it's difficult to serve everyone, everything at the same time. That's why in addition to capturing demographics, community health assessments can be helpful in identifying what the community wants and needs, and prioritizing those things. Remember that when you're surveying the community, there are only so many questions that you can ask before people get tired and will opt out and say they have to go and won't complete the survey. So choose the questions that you really want to ask very carefully to make sure that you're going to get the most useful information. A product can be an idea, service, a good, or any combination of the three. Customers do not simply purchase a product or service. They buy the benefits and satisfaction that they believe the products will provide them. We need to identify the needs or desires of the market or our communities in order to successfully market a product or service. Based on an assessment identifying needs and wants, we can begin to develop a product or a product line, which is a group of similar products or services that comprise a mix of products. The product mix for public health and public health departments at the local level is mandated by the 10 essential public health services, which were written by the Public Health Steering Committee of the Public Health Service. Here are the 10 essential functions of public health. You can see they span from assessment, policy development, to assurance. And they involve things like mobilizing community partnerships to identify and solve health problems, as we would do in something like community health assessment. And there are other services such as assuring there's a competent public and personal healthcare workforce, which we can do through training and health education. Marketing strategies depend on delivery systems and effective promotional campaigns to interest consumers. And marketing channels and distribution systems are needed to deliver products and services to consumers. The idea is to make it as easy as possible to get the product. I'm sure you're familiar with this idea of putting little items up by the cash register to make it easy as possible for us to grab them on our way out the store. It works. Promotional campaigns inform, persuade, or influence a consumer's decision to purchase a product or service. The attention, interest, desire, action concept describes the steps that consumers take when reaching decisions regarding product purchases. Promotional campaigns utilize a mix of personal and non-personal techniques to achieve specific marketing objectives. Personal promotions are conducted between two parties via things like a telephone, video conferencing, or maybe a computer link, while non-personal promotions include advertising, direct marketing, public relations, and other techniques. It's important to remember that advertising strategies are paid communications, and it may be hard to find funding for advertising in a public health program. But you can explore things like earned media, such as interviews with radio hosts or having someone write up an article or blog about your work. In-kind donations may be another way to get your program or service advertised. Lastly, direct marketing techniques include mail, product and service catalogs or brochures, telemarketing, direct response ads, and the use of electronic media. While public health campaigns tend to use a lot of brochures and sometimes a TV or a radio public service announcement used to promote social causes or address social concerns. An example of this would be public service announcements about the harms of smoking. Other direct marketing techniques, such as telemarketing, are less common. The life cycle of a product or service moves through several phases. The first phase is the introduction stage, when a product is first presented. Growth occurs with acceptance of the product, maturity occurs when the product sales peak, and then decline is the final stage, when usage begins to fall at a rapid pace. Different elements in the product mix will have different life cycles, and the difficulty is managing, changing, or adapting the products to meet the ever-changing needs of the population. So you can think of a public health product, for example, birth control pills. Where do you think they are in the life cycle of a product? They've certainly been adapted over the years. Some offer less or different side effects. And now, with so many other types of hormonal contraceptives available, such as the implant or the vaginal ring, the use of birth control pills may have declined. I don't know if that's truly the case, but you see what I mean about how a public health product needs to change and adapt over time. Here are some tips for how to market public health programs and services. First of all, marketing public health programs and services leads to social exposure. Social exposure is a state of awareness in which community residents can readily identify and describe benefits. Public health agencies should start small and slow with marketing campaigns. That way, if it's not having the desired effect, you can modify to better reach and inform your target audience. Next, you should have a well-designed logo, which can be a trademark for the organization. The idea is that the symbol becomes a visual link between the public health agency and the community it serves. You may consider hiring a graphic designer to come up with something, or use an online program or purchase a computer software that will enable you to do this design work in-house. Simple designs which are colorful, with clean lines and easy-to-read fonts are the best. Think you want something that will look good on a poster, on a letterhead, or a t-shirt. Almost every organization has a website, but not all of them are good. And with so many great templates out there, we really don't have any excuse for having ineffective websites. It's important that the information on the site is clear, current, and visually engaging. Lastly, while advertising may be criticized and questioned, health promotion activities are widely accepted in public health. So given decreasing funding for public health, a health agency may need to incorporate promotion, which provides information and education to improve well-being and health into their plans. Social marketing incorporates the basic principles of marketing to modify individual behaviors. Public health's most daunting challenge is to persuade and encourage people to modify behaviors that negatively impact their health. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't eat unhealthy foods. The list goes on. For years, public awareness campaigns and health education have alerted people to the negative consequences of their day-to-day choices. Public health wants to modify people's behavior so that they will remain healthy and receive the health services they want and need to live independent and full lives. But a challenge is that outcomes to successful public health programs are not immediately apparent, and that the consumer must be willing to give up something of value to achieve better health. Behavior change campaigns in public health are grounded in the health belief model, which proposes that people who acknowledge the beneficial effects of health information are likely to make choices that will improve their health. Another theory that's often used is the theory of reasoned action, which proposes that a relationship between an individual's beliefs, attitudes, intentions, and a resulting behavior all interact to decide their actions. And another theory is the trans-theoretical model, which discusses how, in order to reach individuals, we need to assess their various stages of readiness for change. You've probably heard these mentioned before, and I'm sure you'll see them again as you continue in your public health career. All in all, getting people to change their behaviors is very difficult. So at times, the job of public health professionals is to develop social marketing campaigns to change the norms of the whole community to help make adopting those behaviors a little easier. Think about what happened with smoking and how we went from no smoking sections of restaurants to entirely smoke-free public places. The most difficult social challenge to market may be those that will improve the social and economic conditions within a community. Ideally, a community would provide education, employment, and housing opportunities so that the whole community can live healthy, independent, and productive lives. But the need and desire to change negative social and economic conditions may not align with the political demands on public and policymakers. For instance, even though President Obama was in support of providing some basic level of health care to all American citizens, that wasn't politically feasible, and he had to compromise with the ACA. Changing social norms requires the efforts of community partners working with common goals and objectives. Local health departments can benefit from partnering with other public agencies, health volunteers, private businesses, etc., to work together to change individual and community behaviors. In summary, here are some musts for public health agencies. Public health must know the people it serves and how to best reach them via marketing. Public health must sell its services and programs to the community as all other companies must sell their products. And marketing strategies and pathways for public health are almost exactly the same for the private sector as they are for us. So there's a lot that we can learn from the private sector. Public health must realize that changes in programs and service require changes in the marketing tactics used. And public health must use processes and pathways to get its message out. Lastly, social marketing and changing behaviors is difficult, but it is one of the basic essences of public health, so we've got to do it. That's it for this week. Please look on Blackboard for any other additional materials.